video, as you can see from the title, we're talking basketball. And in the basketball topic for tonight, we're going to be talking about every NBA team's dream trade, or maybe even just target in general in their respective off seasons. Earlier, we talked about every team's best trade piece or offer. Now we're going to talk about every team's best get that they can receive for a trade or even just signing in the offseason. So, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. This is right after game 5 of the NBA Finals. Hopefully you guys tuned into that if you are into basketball. Make sure you guys like the video if you agree, disagree with some of the picks in this video, or maybe if you just want to just like the video. I'd also very much appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out all the other type of content that I make on this channel. It's definitely pretty random. And also, make sure to comment down below maybe your favorite sort of scenario out of this. Maybe if it's a player you like going to a team you like, or maybe it's just your favorite team and what they do. Let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I think that's everything. So let us get started. Alright guys, so you guys know this, every NBA team, but we're going to shake it up again. We're going in reverse alphabetical order, just to again switch it up, I guess you could say. So instead of starting from Atlanta, we're starting from the Washington Wizards. And for the Washington Wizards, we have them in, I guess, their dream scenario. And I guess these are also technically realistic. Obviously, you know, any team's dream scenario is to get like Luka Doncic in a trade or Giannis Antetokounmpo in a trade. But these are, again, realistic targets and free agents or trading assets type of scenario. So keep that in mind. So the Washington Wizards, theirs is apparently, according to this article here, the trade, it would be a trade of Malcolm Brogdon. Really? So you would have Malcolm Brogdon next to Bradley Beal. They also have Kristaps, they have Kyle Kuzma still. I mean, I guess that does kind of make sense, even though that is an upgrade to what they used to have with Spencer Dinwiddie next to Bradley Beal. But, you know, it is realistic, and realistically, it does make sense. I guess they could trade their draft pick. You definitely don't want to trade, Kyle Kuzma or Denny or anyone like that. So I guess they wanted to trade their, I think it's the 10th pick, 11th pick, something like that, for someone like Malcolm Brogdon, who is definitely a win now player, next to Bradley Beal, who wants to win now in Washington. Makes a lot of sense. Not a bad pickup, but definitely not a one you want to start out a video with. For the Utah Jazz, their, I guess, dream target is definitely one that's not very realistic anymore, because he is about to probably be an NBA champion. Andrew Wiggins, the dream target for the Utah Jazz. I mean, if they were to keep Gobert and also Donovan Mitchell, having a player like Andrew Wiggins there would be absolutely amazing to have on this team. Now, of course, if they did want to trade Gobert or Donovan, or even both, and go full rebuild, obviously you'd want a way bigger package than that. But if you can somehow find some pieces here and there to give up to go to Golden State, maybe it is a Bogdanovich, maybe somehow you try to throw in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and sort of a couple of nice pieces here and there, maybe you could get it done. Obviously, the Warriors love having great depth. You give them depth for just a player like Andrew Wiggins, it would be kind of a fair trade, you could say. But man, now they're seeing how well Andrew Wiggins is playing in the finals, not a very realistic trade. So that one's kind of a couple weeks or even months too far behind. Next up, we have the Toronto Raptors, and for them, there seems to be Harrison Barnes from the Sacramento Kings, and that just doesn't make sense at all. They literally have enough forwards with Scotty and Siakam, OG Anunoby. I think adding Harrison Barnes to that sounds like an awful idea for me. If I was writing this article, which I feel like I should be most of the time, there would be a center type of player. Obviously, if they could, again, trade somehow into the lottery, if they could somehow get Jalen Duren on their hands, of course, if it's like a Portland trade or a Spurs trade, if they can somehow get into that 6, 7 to about 10, 11 area and get Duren, that would be pretty perfect. Obviously them, wanting to rebuild with Scotty Barnes, but also try to be competitive. That would be a great pickup to have, but definitely a big is what they need, and it's definitely not Harrison Barnes. For the San Antonio Spurs, you have Zach LaVine, and there have been some ties to this because Zach LaVine and DeJounte Murray they're pretty close, and obviously playing for a crazy organization like the Spurs could be really good for Zach LaVine and him sort of be the focal point again of an offense over there in Chicago. You have DeMar, Vucevic needs touches, Lonzo Ball seems to be really good when he's healthy, but they're still a very wishy-washy team if they go to somewhere like, if he goes to somewhere like the Spurs. I don't want to say they're more set in stone, but definitely in a good direction, I would say. So if he wants to make a lot of money and be the focal point again, definitely go to San Antonio, and obviously San Antonio would love to have him for free agency. They wouldn't even need to give rid of anything. They would just sign him, basically, which would be really good for the Spurs, having another star on their roster. For the Kings, theirs is a top 3 pick. Of course, if the Kings can somehow get into the top 3 and get a Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith Jr. type of player, they would probably rather have that than, again, a sort of a jumble guard sort of decision to make again with drafting Jaden Ivey, then having to pick him or De'Aaron Fox. I would pick Ivey over Fox if I'm being completely honest. But anyways, even if not, I think the Kings should definitely have feelers out for this pick to be traded, but definitely don't do anything too rash. If anything, you just draft Ivy and just, keep it going. Just let him play his game, and if he turns out to be a better start player than De'Aaron Fox, then you start to put out feelers for De'Aaron Fox. You definitely don't want to, just trade out of the top 4 pick and, lose out on a guy like this who has, again, Ja Morant style of potential. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. But it would definitely be a very Sacramento Kings thing to do, to miss out on a player like that. For the Portland Trailblazers, theirs is Jeremy Grant, and out of the, obviously you can see the blanket in the background, out of the entire trade buzz around Portland, Jeremy Grant has definitely been the most realistic trade partner, if that is with just straight up the 7th pick for Jeremy Grant, or maybe the Blazers trade down to get some assets to trade for Jeremy Grant, or somehow the Blazers do a future first and maybe a younger player and some assets for Jeremy Grant. Definitely the most realistic name. If you're asking me, my perfect addition to this team that is also kind of realistic is again OG Anunoby, who again is the odd man out of the forward rotation for the Raptors. You have Scotty, you have Siakam. If those two guys are playing on this team, OG will never be a starter for this team, which probably grinds his gears, unless you want to play Siakam at center his entire career. Probably not what you want to do. So you trade OG, maybe Blazers trade 7, and maybe you throw in like a Nazir Little, Josh Hart, maybe you throw in one of their second round picks this year that's basically like a late first rounder, and OG is a starter. Raptors have a young piece plus another young piece. Maybe it's Shaden Sharp, it's Keegan Murray, it's someone you can sort of build around a little bit more, or even Jalen Duren. You have your center of the future, looks pretty good, so OG would be mine. There's obviously Julius Randle, there's John Collins talk, there's a lot, but I think OG would be the perfect one, at least for me. For the Phoenix Suns, there's is Clint Capella, which is interesting if you do trade or do a sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton for Clint Capella. That could actually be very interesting, but I think that might also be a little too out of the cap space range for the Atlanta Hawks, so don't really know how well that would go. So for the Phoenix Suns, if you are going to lose DeAndre Ayton, which I don't think they are, I think he's going to stay. It's too much money. It's just a lot easier on everyone if they just keep him. I don't think they're going to be missing out a lot. If they do need him, if anything, they just need to add depth to the team. So just veterans that can come off the bench and just contribute right now. Win now. Hopefully Chris Paul just stays a little bit healthier. Maybe get a backup point guard, no offense to Cameron Payne, who maybe could play a little bit extra, have Chris Paul sit a little bit more next season, and then give them all right up for a nice finals run next season. For the 76ers, there's this Bradley Beal. I mean, maybe. I mean, obviously you don't want Beal and Harden on the same team. Well, that would be kind of interesting, but if you do somehow try to trade Tyrese Maxey for Bradley Beal, that would actually be kind of fair for both teams, but then Washington would have to go through a full rebuild, like trade Kristaps and everything. That'd just be a big headache. I think if they can add, maybe not a Bradley Beal, again, I think Harden, Tyrese, and Embiid is obviously enough with the team that they have. I think it's obviously health and depth. Kind of same thing with the Phoenix Suns. They don't need a home run guy like Bradley Beal. It would be cool, again, if you want to do, a trade of Tyrese for Bradley Beal, if you can somehow make that happen, but that's too much of a headache, I think. Orlando is Miles Bridges. If Orlando can sign a great scorer this offseason, that would be amazing, because that's desperately what they need. They have, obviously, Jonathan Isaac, who's a defender. They have Fultz, who's a defender. Suggs is a defender. They have a lot of defending type of players. They definitely need a lot more scoring, a lot more potential. Having a guy like Miles Bridges, who is, kind of a two-way, more of a scorer, could look really good on this roster and really grow with, again, Cole Anthony, and obviously the number one pick they have this year, if it is a Chet Holmgren or a Jabari Smith Jr., he's going to look really nice next to guys like that. So I actually really agree with that one. Oklahoma City, theirs is more draft picks. Sure, why not? We'll make it fast and easy. Of course, every team needs draft picks. They want all the draft picks. If they can get more draft picks, then that'd be great for them. For the Knicks, yes, Donovan Mitchell, that's a pretty easy one. If you can avoid giving up RJ, I think everyone else on the Knicks would be on the table for Donovan Mitchell. I feel if you want to throw, Julius Randle, Emmanuel quickly, and maybe something crazy like a sign and trade of Mitchell Robinson or something like that. Like, they just need to package everything, maybe even a first or two for Donovan Mitchell. Even if the Utah Jazz just answer the phone call, you gotta throw something at them. Everything is on the table but RJ. If you're a Knicks fan, would you trade RJ Barrett if that was the only way to get Donovan Mitchell? If it was like a RJ Barrett, Julius Randle package for Donovan Mitchell, Utah goes with RJ, Randle, and Gobert next season to try to compete in the West. And obviously you get a lot of cap space for the New York Knicks for a future All-Star. That's kind of nice. New Orleans, they have Alex Burks. That's definitely very much undercutting the offseason for the Pelicans. It does make sense because they're definitely a team that could be very good next season. They could be a top 5 seed in the West next year. So they get a really good draft pick this year at 8. Plus, obviously, adding a lot of depth to the team with, again, veteran guys like Alex Burks. Makes a lot of sense. A guy who's definitely a three-point shooting, which is what you want to put around this team. Obviously, if you have a guy like Zion and great sort of drive and kick guys like Ingram and CJ McCollum, you added a guy like, Alec Burks, Benedict Mathurin, maybe you add a couple other guys in free agency or even just drafting them. They're going to look really good next season. So, Alec Rito, an Alec Burks type player. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, theirs is Damian Lillard. This is actually the first time I've ever seen Damian Lillard connected to the Timberwolves. I don't think this is a rumor or anything. Unless you're giving up, Karl Anthony Towns, multiple first-round picks, maybe even also D'Angelo Russell. If you think about the Anthony Davis trade and what the Lakers gave up to get AD, you're going to want something at least similar to that for Damian Lillard. Obviously, AD is more of a two-way player, but the offensive caliber that Dame has and also the leadership Dame has as a player, that's almost priceless. So they'd have to give up a lot in order for this trade to happen. It's a cool idea. I guess if you want Dame and Anthony Edwards on a team, but I don't see them trading him away for anyone else than Karl Anthony Towns, unless it is Anthony Edwards. For the Milwaukee Bucks, you have KCP. Yes. Milwaukee needs depth. Milwaukee needs help. Milwaukee needs to keep their guys healthy, and obviously, lessening playing times on guys like Jrue Holiday, Middleton, and even Giannis himself. Yeah, getting a better depth is definitely what they need. For the Miami Heat, it's also Bradley Beal. That's kind of funny. yes and no. I would also add in Donovan Mitchell, who I think just recently had dinner with Jimmy Butler, which might be something, might be nothing. Kind of interesting. But yeah, I think definitely adding another star to that team is really what they need. We saw in the playoffs, defense great, offense lacking a lot. So if you can trade, I don't want to say inconsistent, but maybe a more reliable player, and trade away Tyler Hero, that'd be perfect. If you can bundle up Hero, maybe a first and some other sort of asset for a guy like again a Mitchell who might, force his way out, or even Bradley Beal who just might say, hey, I want to go here, help me get there, and the Wizards sort of help him get there. It could make a lot of sense. So yes, we definitely need an offensive player. For the Memphis Grizzlies, theirs is Pascal Siakam. At least from what I know, Siakam might be untouchable unless, again, you're talking like a top 5 pick in the draft, or, some sort of crazy bunch of assets, which I guess the Grizzlies do have a plethora of good young players. Maybe they trade away like Jaren Jackson Jr. and like a pick or two, and maybe some other player for Pascal Siakam, which I think that could probably get it done. But even then, I think Toronto fans are even bummed out that OG might be leaving. They definitely don't want to think about Siakam leaving, so we'll skip over that one maybe. For the Los Angeles Lakers, theirs is Buddy Hield, which is kind of ironic because that's the player they could have gotten if they didn't trade for Russell Westbrook. So that might be kind of an ouchy thing, but who knows? They could still get it done if, again, the Pacers want, a Taylor Horton-Tucker type player, or maybe that 2027 first round pick comes into play. We could see, but I don't know, man. Taylor is definitely their biggest trade piece, and some team is just going to have to see the potential in him and take the chance. Could be Indiana, who obviously need a new starting small forward since T.J. Warren is probably not going to play there anymore, so very interesting there. The LA Clippers, theirs is Monte Morris. Point guard depth would be nice. No, I said ninth. Nice. Reggie Jackson played amazing last season for them, pretty much being their best player when Paul George was out, and I think he probably put a lot of miles on his legs during that time. So I think adding some more depth on that position would be great. So you have Norman Powell now, Covington, Luke Kennard. You add another sort of depth piece there. You have one of the Morris brothers there too. I mean, I keep saying this in videos. Once the rosters are set, I'll have a better say, but the Clippers maybe as of right now are my pick for an early pick for next season to be my title favorites. They are just so deep, and then also with a fully healthy Kawhi, and Paul George having a nice sort of on and off season, probably nice energy on those legs. It could be nice to see them play. For the Pacers, there's his draft assets. Yes, they're in a full rebuild. Getting the best possible pieces for picks would be the best case scenario for them. Or again, it could just be young assets. It doesn't have to be draft assets. It could be just young players with big upside. I think it's definitely yes. The Houston Rockets, James Wiseman. There's always been some sort of trade talk of Wiseman going around, or even Wiseman going to the Rockets for Christian Wood and maybe an Eric Gordon type player, which would be a fair trade for both teams. But as we're seeing right now, the Warriors don't need a pick to win a title. They're playing just fine, playing sometimes Draymond at the 5. I think I've seen Iguodala in there at the 5. Maybe even Wiggins has played some 5. I don't know, but they love small ball. So having Wiseman, they don't need him. They want him, but they don't need him. They could trade him for something better, or just keep him, see how he develops. But to the Rockets, I think the Rockets would be a flat brick asset to have, Jalen Green, and then a great pick this year with Banchero or, Chet, Jabari, and then also getting Wiseman. Oh my God, the Rockets would be a force, 5 years in the future. For the Warriors, there's this Miles Turner. Again, that'd be nice, but again, you don't need a dominant 5 in the NBA to win anymore, and they're showing you right now that they don't need a 5. Would it be cool to see that? I think, yeah. Would it be great for the regular season? Absolutely, but I think right now they don't need it. Now, of course, if the Sixers were in the finals right now and they had Joel Embiid in there, the Warriors would have a lot of trouble against that. So having a guy like a Wiseman or a Turner or a Wood who can just at least be some sort of body there would make a lot of sense. For the Detroit Pistons, theirs is also Miles Bridges. I think, yeah, if you're losing Jeremy Grant, getting a player like Bridges makes a lot of sense. You're still getting a lot of offense, but maybe a more two-way player, definitely in the right trajectory with your guy in Cade Cunningham, and also getting a guy, again, like Banchero or Jabari or yada, yada, yada. Oh, actually, no, they have the 5th pick. They would get someone like Shaden Sharp or Keegan Murray, which would also be really nice, but say they draft Sharp, you have Cade, you have Miles Bridges, that team is looking pretty nice, well-rounded team. Denver, Jay Crowder. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Denver also going to be a sneaky title favorite going into next season, fully healthy, and adding depth. That team is desperately what they need. It doesn't matter what position, they just need depth. Every position they need depth, and getting guys like veterans who could win now and go for a title next season in a wide open NBA, like how this new era is really exciting. And adding a Jay Crowder player would be pretty cool. Wow, for the Dallas Mavericks, there's this Rudy Gobert. Makes sense. I mean, if you can somehow do like a sign and trade of like Brunson, Dinwiddie, a couple first, maybe you could get it done. Again, you would have to, throw Rudy Gobert out there, and so they get better feels for that. But God, Luka Doncic and Rudy Gobert, that would be amazing. Obviously, an owner like Mark Cuban wouldn't care about cap space or spending money on extra players, so I think you could definitely get the job done with having a very expensive Rudy Gobert player. So I like the idea. Don't know how it would be done, though. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, theirs is another shooting guard in Gary Trent Jr. That's a pass on me. They have Garland, Sexton, and LeVert. That's their 3-guard trio. Definitely don't need to add a 4th in there. They kind of do need a small forward. Isaac Okoro is nice, but I don't think he's really going to be like a future starter in the NBA. I think he's a great piece, a 6-man, but him being, your next forward of the future, probably not. So I think maybe somehow finding a small forward would be my best bet. Gary Trent maybe could play the 3. He's about 6'5", and that was a big thing with why Portland traded him, is because he was another guard on the roster. So if you want to try him at the small forward position, that would make sense, but they definitely don't need another guard. For the Chicago Bulls, theirs is Anthony Davis. Wow. I don't know how they would even do that. I mean, it would be a lot. It'd probably be like Vucevic, Patrick Williams, Kobe White. It'd probably be a lot of solid role pieces that you can sort of surround LeBron around. Sort of do like we did in 2018. But in 2018, they went up against the KD Steph Warriors. Now that there's no super teams in NBA, maybe just having LeBron in a very deep, 9-10 man roster would be your best bet at winning a title, instead of having this crazy expensive two-headed monster with Russell Westbrook. Maybe isn't the move anymore. So I think it could make a lot of sense to maybe trade AD for just a plethora of really good role pieces. For the Hornets, it's a new starting center of DeAndre Ayton. I hope Ayton gets at least some sort of interview with the Hornets. I would love to see Ayton and LaMelo Ball play together. That'd be so cool. If it would be a sign and trade, maybe you just both sign and trade Ayton for Bridges. That could be kind of interesting. Phoenix just some sort of center in free agency. Maybe it's like a cheap Mo Bamba or someone like that. And then obviously with the Hornets trading away a very upsided player in Bridges, but getting probably a player very similar in DeAndre Ayton in a position they desperately need, could also make a lot of sense. For the Brooklyn Nets, theirs is Rudy Gobert. You think the Utah Jazz would trade Rudy Gobert for Ben Simmons? I think if Gobert said, trade me now, blah, 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 I think if the Nets offered Ben Simmons, they would take it maybe even straight up. That might be your best get for Rudy Gobert. I mean, of course, like I said before, with like the Dallas Mavericks, it'd be like a bunch of first-round picks and a couple role players. if you just want to get, Ben Simmons straight up, that'd be pretty nice. You can play him next to Donovan Mitchell. You get the defense you need, but still maybe, hopefully some offensive capability there. You may just be getting a shorter version of Rudy Gobert. I don't know. Plus he's coming off of surgery, but yeah, Rudy Gobert on the Nets with KD and Kyrie. That's a crazy trio still. For the Boston Celtics, Malcolm Brogdon. Wow, second time seeing Malcolm Brogdon. Never would have thought that. I think, of course, as we're seeing from this Celtics series, ball movement is kind of rough on the Celtics right now, and also depth. So if you can even get Malcolm Brogdon to come off the bench, or definitely him being a starting point guard and maybe keeping Marcus Smart off the bench, I think could be very nice for the Celtic team. And then maybe running a small ball 5 with Brogdon and Smart in there with JT, Jaylen Brown, and then Robert Williams at the 5. Could also be a very capable maybe an ending 5 for a game. Could be nice. Great ball movement, great defender. Can put up, about 15 points per game. Brogdon on this team would be pretty nice. And then for the Atlanta Hawks, ending the video is Ben Simmons. You think a John Collins for Ben Simmons trade? John Collins seems to be maybe wanting out, or maybe the Hawks want him out. Again, I've been seeing trade rumors of him going to sign and trade for Ayton. I've seen Portland name come up a lot, or even Toronto's name come up a lot. King's name has come up a lot. Collins seems to be finding his way out. Maybe if he just do an all-star trade for Ben Simmons, who was once an all-star, for a guy like John Collins, who would be a pretty nice piece next to KD. He could even play some small ball 5 next to KD at the 4. That's pretty nice, not gonna lie. So yeah, these were pretty good. Let me know down in the comments again if you watch some more teams more specifically. You can tell me about that team and maybe who they have been rumbling around about wanting to get. I can really talk about Portland, so that's why I had a couple names for Portland, but I obviously can't keep up with every NBA team like that. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like the video if you did like the video. Subscribe to the channel and check out all the other videos that I make. Very random, very random things happening on this channel, but I love it, and I love you. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you again in my next one very